Well, 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 here we are again. Another pump in the Sword and Shield market. Not very surprising. We've seen this happen, I think, 3 or 4 times at this point. Like, even when we look at the graph for Lost Origin booster box prices, you could see it just moves up and then it stagnates, shoots up again, stagnates. It's basically like clockwork. The first time this happened was in December to early January. It went from $250 a booster box to $386. Then it stagnated and it was at $391 at the beginning of May. Then it shot up to $530 by the end of May. Then it dropped back down to around $500 by the end of June. And now it is right around $600 based off of TCG Player's graph. But in reality, it's actually selling for $700. We have recent sales on TCG Player, one at $730, one at $700, and then another at $700. And all of those are in the last 3 days. So another pump has happened. What exactly happened? Did demand spike? Is this a buyout? Well, not really. Like, yes, a bunch of these boxes have gotten bought, but it's not an amount where it's a clear buyout. So the biggest spike in demand was on August 9th, where we saw 8 items sell between $640 and $650. And since then, those listings that I mentioned just a little bit earlier, those are the only ones that have sold. So not a crazy amount of demand, but there just isn't that much supply on the market. So whenever an influx of demand happens, these boxes shoot up in value. And if we go to the actual booster boxes that are listed on TCG Player, and we sort out for the loose packs and sleeve packs, we have one listing at $715, another one at $715, a listing with 7 booster boxes available for $730. So that should hold the prices around there for a little while. And then it jumps up straight to $800 a box. So there isn't that much depth in the market, and it makes sense that 8 people buying Lost Origin booster boxes on the same day led to a spike in value. I honestly think that this value will hold. I don't think this is a buyout we're gonna see an immediate crash from. I don't even think it's really done. I think honestly, these booster boxes might be at $750 by the end of August. That wouldn't surprise me at all. In my opinion, Lost Origin is right up there with Fusion Strike. I think they're kind of fighting for that number 2 spot against one another behind Evolving Skies. Obviously, Evolving Skies is the clear leader, but with Lost Origin and Fusion Strike, they both have those huge chase cards with the Giratina V and the Gengar VMAX. They're both valued kind of the same in both Raw and PSA 10. I think they're both around $500 Raw and then like $1,600 in PSA 10. And so it appears that the Sword and Shield market is not dead. It is moving again. Another one to watch out for is Silver Tempest. This is actually something I put in my top 5 investments for the month because I think right now it's slightly undervalued. And it's moved a little bit since I made that video. Right now we've seen sales at around $390 for this box. When I made my video just a couple days ago, it was at $370. This isn't something I think is gonna jump to $500 within the month, but it is a set that I think has a lot of potential. The Lugia V is a killer top chase card. That card has been surging in price. It's valued at over $300 at this point, and its PSA 10 is also surging and it's hit $1,000. Looking at some of the other Sword and Shield sets, Evolving Skies is just kind of cruising. Demand is pretty steady for this set. There's no huge buyouts, it looks like. We see a couple selling here and there. The last sale that we have confirmed on TCG Player was for $2,400 on August 11th, and on August 9th we had one sale at $2,500. Just steady 10% growth a month. I wouldn't be surprised if this hits $3,000 by the end of the year. Actually, I'd be surprised if it didn't. But again, Evolving Skies is just, it's that set. Fusion Strike, which is a set that spiked hugely in price back in May, which jumped from $480 all the way to $800 in the span of like 2 weeks. It kind of settled back down through the early summer, down to around $740 at the beginning of August, but it looks like it's popping back up. We're seeing some sales right now at around $850 to $870. So Fusion Strike looks pretty healthy. I honestly wouldn't be surprised if this one hits $1,000. I think it'll hit $1,000 before Lost Origin. I think a lot of people just value it higher, and it's also a slightly older box, and I think that gives it a slight edge. Personally, I like Lost Origin more, and that's why I've got my Lost Origin box right here. It's one of my favorites, but I guess the general market prefers Fusion Strike. Now, I do want to talk about an investing opportunity I'm seeing here, because this is an investing channel, obviously. but it's actually in the Lost Origin ETBs. So Lost Origin, the booster box, we'll call it $700 flat right now. It comes with 36 packs. The Lost Origin ETB, however, is $125 and comes with 8 packs. Now obviously, booster boxes generally carry a bigger premium than ETBs, although it's very small and honestly sometimes it flip-flops, but people generally herald them as the standard or like the gold standard for Pokemon investing. The ETB is also a great option. I think it's a great option for sealed collectors as well because they look just way cooler than the booster box in my opinion. But right now, if you went out and bought 5 ETBs, which would give you 40 packs, more than the booster box, that would cost you $600, which is less than the booster box. So there's a big disparity. That would cost you $100 less than the booster box for more packs, and they're sealed in ETBs, which are already a great display item and an item that we see perform really well long term. On top of this, with Fusion Strike ETBs, and Fusion Strike being a set that is similarly priced to Lost Origin, obviously it's slightly more expensive, those ETBs are right around $175. So Lost Origin is much cheaper per ETB than Fusion Strike, and the price per pack from an ETB is much cheaper than the booster box. I think this will make up some ground. I wouldn't be surprised if these hit $150 by the end of September. I think honestly these ETBs have a lot of opportunity to go up in the future, and also they have zero risk of getting reprinted like all of the Scarlet and Violet stuff because it is out of rotation. That's just something that has been bouncing around in my mind and I wanted to let you guys know, and I'm curious what your guys' thoughts are. Let me know down in the comments, but I just wanted to make a video on this to kind of document Lost Origins exploding again. We might see some other Sword and Shield products kind of follow suit, so I would definitely pay attention to the Sword and Shield era. We might soon see one of those huge buyouts and huge influxes of demand back into the Sword and Shield era, so keep your eyes out. But that's all I got for today, so as always, thank you guys so much for watching and stay safe out there.